Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Just as a teaser, do you know that brother Darek Chauvin was a very, very reasonable cop? He was so reasonable that his defense attorney used it over and over and over again. But let's get busy. Welcome aboard, Michael Rudnin. Texas Supreme Court makes eviction filings easier. Although CDC moratorium still applies, CDC moratorium on eviction bans is still in effect, and Texas is going against that. Across the nation, there's 40 million Americans who are behind on their rent. Once the moratorium goes away, we're going to have a homeless crisis, the likes we've not seen since the Great Depression. Oh, trust me, that is going to get the ball rolling on a whole lot of things. We're not going to throw 40 million people on the streets. No way. Simon & Schuster says it won't distribute book by officer who shot Breonna Taylor. Plans by Post Hill Press to publish the book, written by Sergeant Jonathan Matlin, have drawn sharp criticism. I thought profiting from murder was illegal. Michael Rudnin, I agree. But you know what is so funny? The bodies of some people are just props in the minds of many. They are victims, they are props. Breonna Taylor, prop. George Floyd, prop. Wright, Dante Wright, prop. Michael Brown, prop. Philando Castile, prop. You see, it doesn't really resonate the way it does when people of the majority get killed, right? We are not human beings. And to many, we are trying to teach that, yes, we are human beings. We have the same feelings. We have the same thoughts. We have the same things. Hue has little pigmentation, little to do with humanity. But it has been so inculcated into the minds of many that it's something that has to be relearned. Not relearned, it's something that has to be learned. Because all your life, so many have been taught that their dogs had more humanity than some. And that's the reason why we care so much about our dogs. If somebody runs over the dog, oh, it's the end of the world. We don't even eat horses in the United States because, oh, the horses are some things we like to pet and ride. You think if that officer had put his knees on the neck of a dog, there wouldn't be an outcry? We would have every animal organization going crazy. We would have every single mother and father. How could you do that? I cannot believe you exposed my daughter. I can't believe you exposed my son to see that act on the body of a dog, of a cat. And we are supposed to see an officer with his knees on the neck of somebody, choking him to death as this person pleads for his life. Because there's really no reason for him to have been handcuffed. There's no reason for them to attack the car with a gun. But it doesn't register in the minds of many how trastornado What is trastornado? How devoid of humanity that is, right? No, it's just another black dude. A black dude, we'll just put, if it were a dog, it would have been the end of the world. If it was Orca, it would have been the end of the world, but it's just a black dude, you know? Did you see that from the start? I'm going to show, let me finish reading what brother Michael Rudnan put here and salute some of you before I get into my little narrative. Least vaccinated in the there's a particular NAACP link video less than a minute long that I'd like to play. It's good except for the part when it says nobody likes a bad cop more than a good cop. Please point me to recent news story where where a good cop arrested a bad cop when it was done without social media attention. It's funny that you would put that on the screen, Michael Rudnan, because let me tell you, this morning as I was writing this morning and tweeting this morning, I kind of got pissed, right? And I tweeted, one of the tweets that I put out said, if Darek Chauvin is a reasonable police officer, what does that say about the unreasonable ones? Doesn't that make the entire police force suspect? Doesn't it really make the entire police force suspect if that is really the case, right? But I had another one that I wrote. Because it is actually more important than that I said. I'm tired of those who say most police officers are good. Most officers know other officers who are violent with the citizenry and stay silent. Those are not good officers. That makes them complicit in crimes, complicit in the violence. So I get what you're saying, Brother Rudnan. You're absolutely right. I can't play the video right now, but you're absolutely right. Least vaccinated U.S. counties have something in common: Trump voters. I can't understand this. COVID was the leading cause of death in the U.S. during the peak months. The grim death toll added up. There's already over 500,000 dead Americans, and they still haven't realized how deadly a disease we're talking about. They realize it. Trump was pushing vaccines the last year he was in office too. Not only that, they were trying to take, when Biden was getting the vaccines out much faster than Trump, they were like, we need to give Trump credit for the vaccines. Now his people won't even take the vaccine, There are some who would say, not me, but there are some who would say an interesting thing. Survival of the fittest. And they would also say, well, if they decide that they don't want to take the vaccine, in the next election cycle, there will be less of them to vote. I don't partake with that. I'm too much of a humanist to partake of that thought. My thought is I am going to try to get every one of my non-vaccinated brothers and sisters to go get a damn vaccine. If not for themselves, for their families, don't you think? Julie Van Asdel, welcome aboard. Hey, Egberto, Bridge MCP, all. Another police shooting in Burnsville, Minnesota this weekend. This one does appear to be legit, but still, that's literally 5 minutes from my house. My soul is so sad. Sorry to hear that, Julie. Bridge MCP says polls show 43% of Republicans will not get the vaccine, 5% of Democrats won't, and 8% of independents. Seems to me like that gives us about 75% of the population who are going to take the thing, which means we can reach herd immunity if 43% of Republicans decide not to take it. Actually, more than 80% is because the Republican, if they're at 25% right now, 43% won't take it, which means 12, 13%. It still means that, and then the 3 and 5%, it still gives us over 80% of the people, I believe, if my math is working right. Deb Denny, welcome aboard. Let's see who else we got here. Eric Hayes, welcome aboard. Let's see who else. Eric Hayes, what poll? Let's see. Julie Van Asdel says, I feel like my state, or at least the metro area and its suburbs, are simply going to implode if one more injustice happens. I am not certain that even a guilty verdict is enough. It's required. Maxine has called for violence. Maxine has not called for violence. In fact, I wrote a blog this morning to say exactly what Maxine has called for. She has called for protests and demands, not violence. Do you know who are the people that call for violence? Donald Trump called for violence on January 6th. Ted Cruz called. In fact, I'm going to play that video as well, which should shut most of the people up who claim that. Slater Michaels, fact, Willies. Yes, I am all patrol and at least half stand with BLM. Thank you so kindly, brother. Thank you so kindly. Okay, let's see. Carol Jean Merck, welcome aboard. Floyd was responsible partly for his death. The cop was irresponsible and couldn't handle it better. But Floyd paid part in his demise, plus his superiors are also partly responsible. The officer shouldn't have been on the streets with all the complaints that there's been about him. Let's not put the blame on Floyd. Let's get straight here. This is important. Carol Jean Merck, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you as a black man. I want to talk to you as a Latino. I want to talk to you as a Caribbean man. And let me tell you why I'm talking to you as all three of those. Because all three of those are people who police officers treat differently. And here's the deal. And by the way, I'm all three. Here's the deal. When that officer went to his door, he went to the door of Mr. Floyd, George Floyd. He went guns a-blazing, and he used the F word. Put your effing hands on the wheel. He was confrontational in the beginning. Had Floyd ever once gotten confrontational? No. Mr. Officer, what did I do, Mr. Officer? Mr. Officer, I'm scared of the police, Mr. Officer. Get out of the car. He got out of the car and he continued to call Darek Chauvin, Mr. Officer. He was always respectful. They told him to sit down. He sat down. He got a panic attack going into a small space. That was a panic attack the guy was going through. A trained officer knows that. But they didn't see this guy as a human being. As he's begging for not going into that small space, he's completely ignored and they're shoving him in. As they wouldn't have even shoved a dog in that manner. I cried this morning watching that. I cried. You know why? They always say, why don't you listen to what they tell you to do? Do it. Philando Castile did it. He was blown away. And we can go over and over again. It doesn't matter when you have a certain hue and a police officer is just pissed. Your life is in danger. I remember being stopped by a cop and I had my hands on, and this was a good guy. This was a young 30-something-year-old cop. I got him a commendation because I was so scared at the stop, and at the end of the stop, I was so happy. I wrote a blog, commended the guy for his professionalism, and the officer that I commended got an award, a community award for the way he treated me, and I wrote a blog about it that went viral. But understand that this man was treated like an animal. Don't say he's partly responsible. The officer should have gone to the car and said, Sir, what's your name? Mr. Floyd? Mr. Floyd, it is said that you passed the ticket. I'm going to write you a summons to go to court. There was no arrest needed. There was no necessity to bring him into the system. I spoke to some folks on here that always say, well, like, better if you look at the FBI statistic, black people commit more crimes than white people. That's not true at all. Black people just have more entries into the penal code because of the way the source of entry into the FBI statistics is who the cops decide to arrest and make a record of. So for all my brothers and sisters in Kingwood, my lily white neighborhood that I live in, these kids don't get records. They get taken home. These women who get stopped with open bottles that's illegal here in Texas, they don't go to jail. They get a tap on the shoulder. So they never make an entry into the FBI statistics. So we have to understand the realities of what we talk about. And if you want to be honest, if you want to be real, if you want to solve the problem, if you want to say you're a moral person, then it's imperative that you understand what is actually going on the outside, not what you have been told by the right-wing media or what you think you know, as opposed to what we have been experiencing since the inception of this country. It is important if we always talk about, people, a lot of people like to talk about these issues like, oh, there you go again, there you go again, you're tired of hearing it. That's, if you're tired of hearing it, it means that you haven't absorbed it, which means it had to be repeated. Okay, blanket statements are plain wrong at all levels and all sides. That's a generic statement. That's true, but generic. Lee Grant, good cop, bad cop. I bet in the real world it's not that simple. No, it's not. But if you live in my skin, you assume all cops are bad. And you act accordingly. Because you taking the chance of not complete submission runs the risk of you not being alive for your kids, for your family, for your wife, for your mother, for everybody else. Sister Michaels, Slater Michaels, nah, Biden kicks Trump's rump. Yes, Willies, it's the natural selection, LOL. All right, let's see. Deb Denny says, mine is scheduled in 2 weeks. Great, Deb, you go get your vaccination, my girl. Bridge MCP, what part is Floyd responsible for? Exactly, not a part. Michael Joshua, God bless you, Egberto. Muchas gracias, Senor Joshua. Haha, my little bro made a live stream. All right, fake news. Maxine is legit. Yeah, we're going to play that today. Lee Grant, progressives live simple dichotomies. It's the only way. Simple dichotomies. I don't know are you sure you want to say that, Lee? Are you sure? Okay, Lee, they found a pill in the car. All right, let's see. Michael, if a cop tells me they found a pill in his car, my first inclination is he's trying to frame somebody. Just like they carry that extra gun to throw on somebody whose head is blown off. And by the way, I have relatives that are cops that have told me the modus operandi. And I asked, so why didn't you report them? And he said, it is for, you know who to report, Egberto? Somebody who looks like me. Reporting it is a dead man. So what I do is I do it undercover. I give pointers. And I've gotten officers by giving pointers. But as far as me coming and raising my head and say I saw it, I would be dead. That's what he told me. Lee Grant, conservatives are the ones who are simple dichotomies and not little nuance. Conservatives also like to accuse the opposition of what they are most guilty of themselves. Just look at the child molestation ring. It's really who again doing that sort of stuff? Tiala Wilson, hi, been a while. Welcome aboard, Tiala Wilson. Had to go get energy right before I came out sharing it with the world. Thank you for sharing our programs. Folks, if you're with us right now, please share on your wall. Please share everywhere. We need this message to go out. Slater Michaels, they know that what they're doing. Block the trolls, Willies. No. Let me tell you something. You guys overpower the trolls because you guys are a bastion of truth. Slater Michaels. Bridge MCP Taylor was friggin' sleeping. Egberto blocks no one. Thank you, Bridge MCP. Michael Joshua, false equivocation. Michael Rudnin, the cop chasing Adam Toledo, yellow at the kid. Stop the weapon and turn around. Kid did as instructed and was blown away. Exactly. And they say, oh, the kid had a gun. I always return to say, why were you chasing the darn kid in the first place? The kid ran away. Only bad things happen if did you see the kid do something bad? Let the darn kid run away. Fight for a better day. But if it's a Latino, if it's a Caribbean, if it's a whatever, they're going to run and they're going to kill that person. They're going to shoot that person, or they're going to submit, make sure that person is submissive. It's the mentality that they have. The desperation that comes from poverty is the leading cause of death. The only way race is a factor is who the police target for arrest and prosecution. And that is why you hear me talk about whenever we get the ghettos, the barrios, and Appalachia together, we are going to see that we are the ones that have something in common, and the police is but the enforcers for the plutocracy, and that's why their union is so powerful and so hard to break. We need to break their union and create a union that works for making sure their salaries are right, they have the right venues. But when it comes to immunity and that sort of stuff, I'm sorry, no, absolutely not. Deb Denny, the white guy that drug an officer down the street with his truck, and he lived, and hit the cop with a hammer, and he lived. Eric Hayes, media questions, don't you think most media is left not right because most of it is suppressed? I don't know why people always say the media is left. I've been complaining that the media people call left is mostly right. You take a look at This Week, or take a look at Meet the Press. Most of the people that get invited are Republicans. Most of the people that get an opportunity to put their message out are Republicans. There are many, look it up. There are counts that say how many Republicans, how many Democrats have been on the show, and the Democrats and the Republicans lead. And it always seems like in order to not, it's a trick. You call the media left, and the media goes overboard to show that it's not left. And who pay the price? Those of us on the left. Michael Rudden, the desperation comes from poverty in its leading cause of crime. Exactly. The only way race is, I read that already. Tom C. GOP is becoming the party of white supremacists by claiming Anglo-Saxon superiority over POC. I have something to play, but similar to that as well. Accidental double post. Ha! Okay, Michael. Chris Swindells. I'll leave that. That's a conversation. Lee Grant. Progressives like to think the things are simple dichotomies, good, bad, right, left. It leads to the kind of hyperbolic rhetoric Egberto is spouting. There's nothing hyperbolic about what I talk about. Nothing. I'd like you to define something hyperbolic that I've said, sir. Brother Lee Grant, let me know what I've said that's hyperbolic. And if I agree with you, I'll apologize for it. I promise you that. Maxine Water, visit the Minnesota was much needed boost to the hurting souls who've been out there day after day, their voices for justice. Maxine is one of my heroes. And the reason they hate Maxine, the reason they hate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the reason they hate Ilhan Omar is that they do not abide by the left or the right or the Democrats or whatever. They are moral people that believe in treating people morally and believe in moral policies. And in a politics where you negotiate morality, they are on the outside. But we're getting more in. We have the guy that just went in Brooklyn. I don't remember his name right now. We have a lot of good progressives coming in that are going to make a difference. Slater Michaels, real talk. Things are getting better because more are aware and taking action. Slater Michaels, you're absolutely right. Let's see. Wow, I need to get into my videos, guys. Let's see. Maxine is cool. Michael, let's see. Press is no left, and yes, viva Maxine. Julie Van As de Legberto, you should watch Bo of the Fifth Column's take on Adam Toledo shooting. He believes that it is because of the strobe light on his gun. I'll have to see that. Put the link in there for me, Julie. I have made many friends who were police. I have relatives that are police. They do plant drugs. They do use throwaway guns. Exactly. CNN left and MSNBC left and 60 Minutes left. Haha, that's a joke. Greg Hill. Haha. All right. The three females you mentioned are radicals. No, they're not. They're moral. Tiala Wilson. AOC is currently flipping. You cannot work with these people. They will turn on you. I don't. You know, a lot of my left brothers and sisters have really given AOC a hard time, and I am here to defend her. I interviewed her several years ago. I can't reach her. It's like I can't get to her now. They're too big for politics done right now. When in the beginning, Netroots, they came and asked for the interview at Netroots, but I can't reach them now. But I understand. They want the biggest bang for their buck, so MSNBC, and that sort of thing is where they'll go. So I understand, but I will stand up for AOC because I think a lot of us on the left, and I think she's done that with a lot of us on the left. A lot of the bloggers and the guys that do what we do, whereas they could get her before, we can't get her anymore. And that hurts a lot of people's feelings. And then they start saying, oh, she's changed and all of that. It's not that she's changed, it's that she has to work differently. If I'm honored to get another interview with her, I'll be happy. But I am not MSNBC, big like MSNBC, that's going to reach a hell of a lot of people at one time. And, and she has to be careful because she may come on Politics Done Right and say something that she has to go ahead and do all kind of, or they may, or somebody, she may come on Politics Done Right and somebody does a complete word search on everything that I've ever said, and then they'll tag her to something else. So I understand that. But some bloggers and vloggers, they just think about themselves. For me, it's about the policy. For me, it's about how do we move our entire vision forward. And AOC doesn't have to come back on Politics Done Right. It doesn't matter. Because as long as I know her vision is to do what we need to get done, I am very happy. And I'll take the snub. I will take the snub. It's okay. Let's see, Stoner Fury. So please don't listen to those people that are really giving AOC a hard time. AOC is playing the game like a mature progressive, much more mature than her 30-year age would have you believe. Stoner Fury, this high is chill and only bringing me positive vibes. Eric Hayes, MSNBC is a cheerleading arm of the Democratic Party while they play ads for Big Pharma and the military-industrial complex. You hit a magic thing right there, Eric. Michael Rudnan. Thank you very much for that. That's an important statement. Michael Rudnan, expert that Bo of the Fifth asks for. Oh, thank you. You're a good man. Egberto, I know no one who is the evil boogeyman you depict. You invent this guy to serve your propaganda. Which guy am I inventing? I so want to be able to interview her. Yes, I do too. I want to so bad, my dear Tiela Wilson. I so sure do. I'm going to keep trying because eventually she may, I can't reach her. I have to go through a whole lot of layers now, and that's the hard thing. That's one of the reasons I need a producer and somebody that does all that kind of work, because it's hard to write a book while you're blogging, while you're researching, while you're cutting videos. I need help. And let me go ahead and do this right now. Folks, please, if you are on YouTube, please help us here at Politics Done Right. Click that join button so we can get enough members to start bringing some other people into the fold to help produce what we need to get produced. Just click that join button. Click that join button and become a part of our YouTube posse. And let me give you guys something. If you want, you can also go ahead and get our mug designed by Bridge MCP, one of our, that's not what I want to do, guy. Okay, Bridge MCP, who is one of the leaders in our movement. You can get the cup right there, and it's on the screen right now with many of the people who've already gotten the cup. Why don't you become one of our cup persons as well? I put the link on the screen. And by the way, if you want to go ahead and become a patron, we need patrons as well. Go ahead and click on this link here. politicsdoneright.com/patron, politicsdoneright.com/patron. If you don't see the join button on YouTube, or you're on some other network, you can still join by going to politicsdoneright.com/YouTube, politicsdoneright.com/YouTube. You can also support us via PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal, politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. And of course, my book. And I think this book is important. This book and the other book that I'm coming out with, which is How to Make America Utopia, they go hand in hand. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors. Please go ahead and get it at Amazon. There's a link to get it at Amazon. But if you want to get rid of the middleman so that I make a little bit more out of it, you can get it directly at our store, politicsdoneright.com/store, politicsdoneright.com/store. Again, politicsdoneright.com/store. All right, let's go ahead and play the first video. And I want to tee it up this way. Well, I'm going to just play because I think I teed it up in the video itself. This is not about Chauvin right now. This is first about something that happened over the weekend that I thought was dangerous. And I figured I needed to write a blog about it because we cannot, already you guys are talking about 43% of our Republican brothers and sisters not taking the vaccine. Let's help them. Let's not allow false narratives to get to them. So check this out. Well, I think it's going to come sometime. I think this is it. False equivalences. Here we go. I don't always agree with Bill Maher. I love Bill Maher. I think he's on the edge, and he also pushes the limit both on the left and on the right. He gives both sides a hard time, and that is good. But I think what he did yesterday was actually dangerous. He told a lot of truths. The problem is the truth in the wrong context can be used on all sides, and it's dangerous. And let me give an example. He points out the reality. In the beginning of the pandemic, we thought you had to wipe things down because the stuff could be transmitted easily on surfaces. We know that may not be the case. We also went ahead and started to ask everybody to vaccinate themselves. We know that works. But then we asked them also to still wear masks because we don't know if after being vaccinated, you can still transmit viruses. We also know that people on the left and the right are uninformed many times. We also know that people on the left can be just as wrong on the left side as they are on the wrong side. And he gave a good example. The reality is very few people who get the coronavirus ends up in a ICU or in the hospital stay, but they get real sick and they get damage that could be permanent. But many of them don't, and most of them don't end up in the hospital. That is true. The people on the left, because the media, of the way the media does things and it doesn't give detailed information, they assume, maybe 50% of the people are the ones who are in the hospital. What they do know is that a lot of people are in the hospital. A lot of people get hurt by this disease. Now, what Bill does that is terrible, he tries to make the misinformed left an equivalence between the misinformed and uninformed left with the right. The reality is the uninformed on the right will get you killed. The uninformed on your left is an exaggeration. He then gives an example that is a very poor example. DeSantis' results were better than the governor of New York. It was better than the governor of New York. And what is he wanted to say? He says, well, look, he opened up, he kept things open, and the viruses didn't spread as much. He forgot that Cuomo has a huge density of people in his state. While everybody were still didn't have a problem, they were already infected and it was spreading like crazy. That was the reality. That was the reality in New York. And we have in Florida warmer weather, and not only warmer, not living on top of people as they are in New York. To compare those two governors with fatalities and compare those two governors on those particular issues makes no scientific sense. But to the average person, it's going to look like DeSantis was more open than Cuomo was, so DeSantis must have been more red or more honest than Cuomo. Look, Cuomo has his problems, but we're talking science here. The reality is, if you wear a mask, a 95 micron mask, it will eliminate most of the droplets that would go out that can spread to other people. That's a fact. So if you're wearing masks and if you're not exposed to people, you're not going to get the disease. And locking people down at times is the best thing to do. Now, those people that remained open and they said, well, nothing happened, that's a luck of the draw. Many people, even as they have states like here in Texas, the governor opened up Texas, but the reality is people have lost trust in the governor. So when he says open up or whatever, people kept their masks on. They have already seen him cause the destruction or rather the collapse of the infrastructure, the collapse of the electric grid here in the States. So they know that he's not somebody that you take at face value, except for the sycophants. Most people just do what they know is safe. I live in a very red area. And yesterday, we went to have a snack. And guess what? Everybody, all these red Republicans, Trumpsters, were all wearing masks when we no longer have to do so. So it's not that these guys are doing anything worth doing or that they're better or whatever. It is that people themselves, those who have self-educated, or doing the right thing. Now, what Bill Maher did yesterday on his show was dangerous. Because for those who are not informed on their own, who love to listen to him, and I love listening to Bill because a lot of times he makes a lot of sense, and a lot of what he said in made a lot of sense. Unfortunately, the pieces that were not based on science, or the pieces that gave false equivalences, or the pieces that made that compared two things that shouldn't be compared, will give all the necessary ammunition to those on the right to continue getting a lot of the people who listen to them killed. Exactly. That's going to get a lot of people killed. That 43% of Republicans that decided they don't want the vaccine. I'm going to talk to, I got a lot of Republican friends. And the ironic thing about it, though, is that most of the Republicans I know are actually have already taken the vaccine or are going to take the vaccine. In fact, a couple of ladies told me recently, Egberto, I need to go get the vaccine, but I didn't have, I keep trying, couldn't get it. Now, are you on the list? Yes, I'm on the list, but I want to get it earlier. So, I mean, I think a lot of the places, Donald Trump always used to say something that I never understood how it didn't embarrass a lot of his supporters. He used to say, I like stupid people. I like dumb people. He always used to say that. And what was ironic about it is a lot of people in Timbuktu and all these areas, they use that comment as a calling card. They actually made stuff that says dumb people. I mean, talking about empowering or elevating a bad thing. But anyway, let's get back to Darek Chauvin and police. This lawyer, I think I played this on Friday, but I want to play it again because it goes into the next subject that I want to talk about. So let me go ahead, play this, and then we'll take it on the other side. With the cascading effect of POC's bodies, people of color's bodies, being assaulted by those who are supposed to uphold the law, I found a comment by this particular lawyer quite prescient, but more importantly, it gives a good illustration of the you just can't win. Check this out, and then let's go ahead and take it on.
But this bigger question that we're grappling with here about how we think about policing, just follow up on what Eddie had to say. What's your view of all of these complicated and thorny issues?
And it goes back to a witness who said something that's been echoing in my mind since I heard it. Mr. McMillan said, you can't win. He said that to George Floyd, you can't win. And that's the thread that ties all these cases in the news together. And this isn't just theory. I mean, I've been ordered out of my car on 3 different occasions, stopped many times. At 3 different occasions, the officer stands on the outside of your car and motions for you to get out and approach. Once they start giving you those commands, what do? If you ask for mercy, George Floyd did that, didn't matter. If you don't obey the command directly as it's given to you, you get a situation like what happened to Lieutenant Nazario. You get in trouble, you get tased, and let's be honest, that's what led to Daunte Wright's death. And then if you follow the commands and you raise your hands like you're being told to do, you run the risk of getting shot. And so the situation we're creating is one where you leave people without hope, and that's when things are on the verge of combusting, as we're seeing in Minneapolis right now. The only thing that has led to change, I'll tell you this as a civil rights lawyer, the only thing that has led to meaningful change is people taking to the streets and protesting, but we're getting situations where we see this common playbook where authorities make promises that they know they don't intend to keep. And I think that's also what's going on in Brooklyn Park right now.
And he hits the nail on the head. You just can't win. You just can't win. You can't win until you make systemic change. You know, a lot of folks always have a tendency to say things, starve the beast, starve the beast. Just maybe it is time to starve the beast and make sure that we fund that which really protects us. Because if learned folk, if a lawyer, if an engineer, if a host, if all these people, not somebody that folks will be mistaken for being people of ill repute, if even when they see a police officer, their hearts in their throats, there's something wrong with that institution, a cancer that needs to be extricated. After all, what do we all want? Freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, knowing that we don't have to fear that which we fund. Absolutely not. We should never have to fear what we are required to fund. Unfortunately, that is the world that we live in. And you know, I started the show without taking you to the blogs that I have, that the blog that's for the show today. So make sure to go to it. Don't forget to go to it, because we have all the links to the blogs that correspond to the videos that we do. You get a chance to see that. I am going to, let's see, I better go ahead and play the other video. Bingo. But beforehand, Norman Reynolds says a person having the power of the state to kill should not be dealing with minor issues. Exactly. What is amazing, right, is, and this is something that I try to tell everybody, the police is a reflection of society. So all the prejudices that are found in society are found in police. The reason why that's a danger is that police has license to kill. And it is hard to hit them. It's hard to hit an officer, get an officer who kills you if you're black. But if you're a black officer who kills a white person, like the one in Minnesota, you go to jail. Others, you don't even have to go to trial. I am not making this stuff up. It's right there for all to see. It's all there for all to see. So let me go ahead and play the other video, and then we'll be back. Today on This Week, I saw a work of art, in my humble opinion. I wish more journalists would do this when they appear on these panels. LZ Granderson, I want you to listen to this, and then let's go ahead and take it on the other side.
LZ, we got 10 seconds left here, but really at the heart of this is immigration. What do they do about it?
Well, I know we're talking about immigration, Martha, but I really want to address something that we talked about just previously in terms of Marjorie Greene and that particular caucus. In denouncing her, many Republicans talked about how America wasn't built on these ideas. The reality is this country was built on white supremacy. And the reason why she supported it is because white supremacy is still very much a part of the American fabric. So until we can acknowledge that, we're going to constantly be addressing these racial issues, particularly as it pertains to
we're going to have to end there, but you made your point.
And, you know, very rarely do you get a chance to, you know, just go ahead and you be the one making the subject and not getting cut off. He took that 38 seconds and he did everything that he needed to do with that 38 seconds. Let's get the police portion out of the way. You know, everybody wants to, they're really hitting hard on how bad these police officers are, right? And I tell people all the time, police officers are a reflection of who we are. The only difference is they have a license to kill. So we are seeing the ultimate effect of who we are instantiated on the bodies of many. Now, here's the issue. As long as we maintain this fallacy that except for that little thing called slavery, except for that little thing where we had the Trail of Tears, where we murdered and threw a whole lot of indigenous people off their lands, instead of us breaking all these treaties that we've had with different indigenous countries on this land and taking their land, except for how we treated Asians as they came over and built our railroad and gave some many other services, except for how we deal with those people repatriating lands that were originally generations in their families, except for all these things, we were founded on great Christian principles. For all those that didn't benefit from the wonderfulness of that, it creates a fallacy. It creates an image that doesn't square with reality. So as we speak about being a democracy, we are very anti-democratic in the way we elect a Senate, in the way we elect a president, in the way we elect Congress people with gerrymandering, etc. We have all these undemocratic features built into our system to keep a few in power. When we wrote a constitution, which in effect truly, and this is not meaning to be mean, it was a racist document identifying some people in this country as 3/5 of a person. It was indeed a sexist document, meaning there was no area where women could actually vote. We have to really come to the concept that for those who say, well, it was a document of its time, that's fine. But also understand that in those times, we took it as okay to do so much harm to so many. And by the way, it isn't harm just to people of a particular hue. It isn't harm just to people of a particular gender. It is also harm to people of little means. It is also harm to people who didn't have land. But we always gave them that aspiration that if they just follow the rules, they would be able to be like us, as long as they don't have that hue, as long as they don't have that gender. So it was worth a few with arms fighting for. Until we accept the reality of who we are and we start making or codifying who we claim to be and act on that codification, nothing is going to change. And that's why cycle after cycle after cycle, we go through what we're going through. That little statement that L.Z. Granderson made is so important. And if we absorb the essence of that statement, it's a start, it's the beginning of doing what we need to do. You know, so for all those people that are scared, you want to pack the courts. Well, no, the people in the minority have already packed the courts from the district courts to the Supreme Court with a representation of the minority of the country. The truth of the matter is, I would be honest, we don't want to pack the courts. We want to democratize the court after it was taken in an undemocratic manner. But, you know, we don't have progressives that are willing to, we don't have Democrats that are willing to go out there on a limb, understanding that what we stand for supports most Americans. And the reason why is too many of us as well are in hock to the plutocracy. That's okay. We will continue to work. We'll continue to work very hard to get what's done. Now, I need to bring our Ted Cruz thing in here because earlier somebody said, hey, Maxine Waters wanted to create a violence if the case doesn't go the way it should. That's a lie. But let's really see who wanted to create violence. CNN got an A+ for this one. They really gave a hit to the Republican hypocrisy, not only with what Representative Maxine Waters had to say, but contrasting it with what all those Republicans were talking about as they incited violence. Maxine didn't do that, but they did. Let's take a look at this, and then I will take it on the other side.
So this weekend, California Democrat Maxine Waters was asked what should happen if the jury in the Darek Chauvin trial does not deliver a guilty verdict. Her response?
We got to stay on the street, and we've got to get more active. We've got to get more confrontational. We've got to make sure that they know that we mean business.
Now, she didn't say what type of confrontation. Still, this is not the language that business owners in Minneapolis want to hear, or the people calling for calm, including the president or the family of George Floyd. All public schools in Minneapolis are going remote this week out of concern. They don't want physical confrontation. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy called it an incitement of violence and said he will take action against Waters if Speaker Pelosi does not. But this is how Republican Senator Ted Cruz chose to respond. In a tweet, Democrats actively encouraging riots and violence. They want to tear us apart. That's Ted Cruz of the not accepting the election results before or after the insurrection cruises, which might lead one to wonder if this is a case of the pot calling the kettle violent. To jog your memory, Donald Trump, pot.
Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore, and that's what this is all about. You'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
Mo Brooks, pot.
Today is the day American patriots start taking down names and kicking ass.
Rudy Giuliani, pot.
If we're right, a lot of them will go to jail. Let's have trial by combat.
So I don't recall the Republicans are encouraging violence tweet from Ted Cruz after that. There wasn't one. Or after we heard on January 2nd from this pot.
Just like the Patriots gathered at Bunker Hill, just like the Patriots gathered at Valley Forge, just like the Patriots who forged this nation, the men and women gathered here and across the state of Georgia are fighting for the United States of America. As we defend our Constitution, as we defend our freedom, and we will not go quietly into the night.
No, they are tearing us apart. Tale of woe from Cruz on Cruz. Also, it's not like this guy is some peaceful prophet of gentility. This is the man who wants to do unspeakable things to books that say mean things about him, asking his supporters to vote on, quote, whether we machine gun John Boehner's book, take a chainsaw to it, or burn the book to light cigars. Where does that rank on the they are tearing us apart meter? Look, Maxine Waters needs to answer to Maxine Waters. She has said incendiary things in the past, and this is a week where the nation is very much on edge. But Ted Cruz needs to look in the mirror, which can be tough, especially for him. Because you know what they say, when the going gets tough, the pot goes to Cancun.
Did he hit the nail on the head or what? But anyhow, look, let's get serious here. It's not a, Maxine wasn't trying to incite violence. Maxine was saying something that we all should be cognizant of. And that is, with all the evidence that came out against Chauvin as he murdered George Floyd, if America is unable to get a conviction on an officer murdering another person, effecting a very violent act on another human being, a human being of color, if it is impossible for us to convict an officer, and by the way, a black officer has already been convicted for genuinely being startled and accidentally killing a white woman right there in Minnesota. We know that. So if this does not result in a conviction, it would be clear that people of color, specifically black men, can be hunted by bad cops. And we know many of these cops have alliances with a whole lot of these right-wing groups. That was quite evident on January 6th. It would mean that there are a particular group in this country that police officers present a clear and present danger to them. And the question is, what then do they do if America tells them we cannot even convict officer that we have seen murder one of you in broad daylight in front of a crowd begging him not to murder you? And he looks at them smugly, ignores them until the entire life is breathed out of that body. What does it tell you? Maxine Waters said nothing wrong. And those that are counteracting and acting as if she has said something that is so violent, they should all be saying, how could an officer, a representative of one of our American laws, be such a violent murderer and inflict death on one of our own? It is funny because I've always said that. Why aren't we, instead of keep on, why is Black Lives Matter doing that? Ask the real question. When are police officers going to stop killing POCs? When are they going to stop killing POCs? That's the real question. Not, are you going to destroy the neighborhood? The truth of the matter is a lot of these people destroy their own neighborhood because they don't own a damn thing in their own neighborhood. And they figure to hell with it. You know what I always say, when you don't have anything to lose, you don't have anything to lose. And one of the reasons I said, well, we got to unite Apalachia, the ghettos, and the barrios, because that is how we are going to take back power. That is how we take back power. Not take back power, that is how we demand power. By us not allowing them to divide us. That is how we do it. But folks, we're getting near the end of the line. Let me salute everybody. Slater Michaels, welcome aboard. Egberto 2024. No, I am not a politician. I'm an activist. Mike Lowry, welcome aboard. E2247, welcome aboard. Linda Joe Kessinger, muchas gracias. ¿Cómo estás, mi amiga? Michael Rudnin, Michael Joshua. Let's see. Michael Lowry says, BLM, Black Lives Matter with the hashtag. Let's see. Michael Hayes says, Norman Reynolds, dude, your chart goes to 2018. How about getting some? I don't know if there's updated information. That's a problem. I just have to say that I love that Breonna Taylor has started doing the early show on CNN. I listen to CNN as I walk my dog at the park. Exactly right. Exactly right. Okay, let's see who else I need to salute. Charlie Lindahl, welcome aboard, hermano mío. Michael Joshua, welcome aboard. Norman Reynolds, welcome aboard. I'm going up the ladder. Linda Joe Kessinger, welcome. Deborah John. Deborah, too long for me to read right now. I'll read it after. Let's see. Eric Hayes. Para ver quién más está aquí. I know I saw quite a bit more up here, so I'm going slow, but you know my eyes, what it does. Slater Michaels, I think I called you out already. Deb Denny, welcome aboard. Keep scrolling up. And by the way, folks, if you're listening, the only things I see or what you place on the YouTube chat, the Twitch chat, or the Facebook chat on my page, on the Politics Done Right, on the facebook.com/Politics Done Right. All the other pages, I don't actually see the whatever you put in those chats. Daniel Ledo, welcome aboard. He says, I'm always amazed how freely Egberto lies every day. It reflects his character. You know, Michael Ledo is famous at saying, I lie. But when asked for him to tell a specific lie that I've told, he has always been unable to actually tell me the lie that I told. So I am a liar who doesn't lie. Hey, I'll take it. All right, let's continue. Para ver. I'm going up. Chris Swindles, welcome aboard. The virus is like Russian roulette. You don't know how, if you get it, or how bad it will be. That's the best I've heard it. You're absolutely right, though. Because a lot of people get it and it's fine, but you know, you may be the unlucky one. Slater Michaels, welcome. Chris Swindles, I think I just called you out. Let's see. I think people have made up their minds on vaccines. To some extent, you're right. All right, I'm still going up the ladder. I'm about a minute late, but I need to get out of here. So let's see what else I got. Greg Hill, welcome aboard. Okay, you have your opinion. We'll have to agree to disagree. Stay strong on the left, and if socialism takes over, everyone will become their slaves, imprisoned or killed. Wow, Greg, stick with us. You'll see what. And get ready to buy my book, the one that's called Making America Utopia. All right, let's see. Tiala Wilson, welcome. Bienvenida. Deb Denny, welcome. Slater Michaels, Dave Anchovies, welcome aboard. Let's see who else. Lee Grant, my brother, welcome aboard. And Stoner Fury, love that name. Let's see, I think I got everybody. If I missed you, forgive me, but I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EG BertoWillies. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.